Hello, welcome to Maverick Dreamers and Thinkers. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Chloe Cho. I shared a personal story in episode 7 on how I let preconceived notions of fate dictate my future, especially when it came to relationships, as you heard about my experience of meeting a world-famous psychic in New York City. Let's carry on this topic and explore what makes relationships work. This is something that we all struggle with at some point in our lives due to whatever stereotypical thinking or fixed ideas we might have about certain types of people, as we either fall for them or shun them without giving them the benefit of the doubt. As much as many of us want change for the better to enjoy a more stable and happier relationship, could we be the ones limiting ourselves of the full potential? Women are told to believe that we can have it all, but is it really the case? Why is it that so many struggle to find a partner further along their career path? Why do women find that their pool of choices is getting smaller by the year when technology has made it easier to meet people? A simple swipe might just do the trick, while some argue that dating apps kill a true sense of romance and promote hookup culture. Women often complain about the dearth of men, but would you believe that the numbers actually stack up in women's favor? The natural sex ratio at birth is estimated at 1.06 male versus female, meaning that there are more men to go around for every available woman. If so, what is the missing link? Let's delve into the business of romance with Violet Lim, a matchmaking guru who runs Asia's first and largest dating service called Lunch Actually, whose offices stretch from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand to Hong Kong. It's a business that began 15 years ago when Violet set forth on a personal mission to help her friends and colleagues who were single and had no time to date. You've really taken the concept of putting people together 15 years ago, and you really ran with it. You must have some magic formula, some real know-how in putting people together, because you're still here, even in this age of digital apps, right?
So honestly, when we first started 15 years ago, I was 24 years old then.
You still look like you're about 28.
Thank you. And I think, it really took us a while. Like, when I first went into industry, I think there were a lot of things that I didn't know about it. And once I knew some of this, secrets or some of the things behind the industry, I was quite shocked actually. Because I never knew that these were the numbers that we were talking about. These were some of the trends that we were talking about. Because I think before that, sometimes maybe people just kind of sugarcoat it.
What are some of the secrets? What are some of the numbers? Let us in on the secret.
So one of the things that really got me quite down when I first went into this business was that we had quite a lot of difficulty matching certain demographics of the singers. Yeah. And that was quite challenging because I was thinking I came into this industry wanting to help everybody. But at that point, the way that the business was being set up or the services that was being set up, it was actually quite difficult for us to bring them in as clients.
How? Why?
Okay, so one of that categories would definitely be women of a certain age group.
Okay, so is that over 35, 40, 45?
So I would say it would be something about over 35.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was very heart-wrenching because, we had obviously people from different age groups who come to us, and one of it is obviously people who are over 35, and then they really wanted our help, they really wanted us to match them up, but we couldn't because at that point we just didn't have enough guys who were above a certain age group.
Like what? Like over 45?
The truth of the matter is, most people are looking for men that are not too far off. Like when they are about 35, they are not looking for someone who is 50 or even 45. They will prefer someone who is maybe not over 41 or 42.
Oh, they're looking for younger men.
Yeah. So that was really the challenge because, that age group of men, men who's maybe in their late 30s would be what I would call so-called the most eligible age group, because kind of everybody is looking for that age group because they are settled, they are, doing well in their career, they are at the age where they are thinking of starting a family, things like that. So everybody is kind of looking for that age group, and that age group of men, they know that their value is really high as well. So they can be picky if they want to be.
Because they can get anybody. They can get a woman in her, early 30s, potentially
late 20s. So that was quite tough, actually. And there are also other groups of people that maybe sometimes we have some challenges with. Like, let's say, guys who's like maybe below a certain height. Yeah, so that would be challenging to match them out as well. So that was the reason, like after we started initially with just the one-on-one face-to-face service, we actually went on to like different platforms. So we started our digital platform. We also started our coaching services. So that has really worked out very well. So we have realized that our clients who have gone through like coaching, their chances of success actually almost double.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times like singles come to us, like if you ask them why you're single, they would say that I've not met the right one.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the focus is very much on like the meeting, but we realized that finding the right one is not just about meeting the right one, but it's also about being the right one.
You need to work on yourself, right? Because if you've got a whole, bag full of issues and you're insecure, you're about to break out, and, if you have you need to resolve yourself. You need to make peace. That's also very important for women and men.
People often blame their singledom on the fact that they haven't met the right one. But Violet says this mindset needs to change, as the focus should not be about whether the other person is not the right match for you. Rather, they should examine whether they are the right fit for whoever is looking. She notes that she occasionally has friends who want to introduce her to an eligible woman who seemingly ticks all the boxes, yet remains single. Violet says she knows straight away why the woman in question is unattached, even without a face-to-face meeting, as she's about to unveil an untold formula that helps explain the dynamic of why some people appear out of luck.
Like, Violet, I want to tell you about like this really good friend of mine, and she is really good looking. She's doing so well in her career. She is like really nice. Like she's just this amazing person. Which like they are saying that I have no idea why she's single, right? And I would say, okay, I can tell you why without even meeting her.
Why?
And they'll be shocked. They are like, wow, really? So The truth of the matter is, like, when we meet someone, like, we will attribute a certain score to that person. Like, it's almost like subconscious, right? And that score could be quite superficial, right? So, like, let's say on a score of 1 to 10, and like let's say we are very generous, like average we say is a 7, right? So I say, like, okay, let's say your friend, based on your description of your friend, like she's like sound like better than average, right? So let's say she's 7.5.
Okay.
Right? So I say, okay, so like imagine you're your friend, putting yourself in the shoes of your friend, like she's a 7.5. So when she's looking for a partner, like what score do you think she's looking for?
I don't know, 8.
Yeah, okay, so let's say 8 or 8.5.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so those people that she's looking for, who's a 8 or 8.5, what score do you think they are looking for?
9.
Right? Or 9.5.
Yeah.
So
or maybe 10.5.
so you see where I'm going with this. So I think, like that's the challenge, because it's like, let's say, the friend is a 7.5, and then the people that she's looking for is a 8.5, and the people that she's looking for, they're looking for a 9.5. So now she has a decision to make. So it's a very simple decision if you think about it. It's either she makes herself a 9.5, right? Or she start just looking around her and seek out the 7. And the truth of the matter is, like, most of the time, like, people have people around them who's interested in them. But they never even realize that, because those people are not even within their radar.
That's true.
Yeah. So that is the challenge. So then I asked, like, is it easier to make yourself a 9.5? Or is it easier to just kind of like open up your eyes and just look around you and like look at the 7.
Because even the 7s and 6s, they can also be improved to 8.5 and 9,
yes,
right?
exactly. And the truth of the matter is that there's nothing wrong with them. It's like other than maybe in terms of the packaging.
Yeah, just a little bit of polishing and shining.
Yeah. And it's, it's much easier to kind of help them with that rather than make yourself jump up 2 grades to like 9.5, right?
Yeah.
So that is the challenge.
Oh, wow. This is so fascinating. I've never seen it really interpreted in such a way. So in my line of work, I talk to a lot of people from all walks of life. And one thing that I've realized over the years, there are so many single women in all sorts of cities around the world. There's no physical disability.
Great, yes.
They look okay or great, somewhere in between that category. They are professional women. They have a good job,
women,
intelligent, well-educated, well-spoken. And yet, the common denominator is they say that all the good men are taken or they're gay. So is it really the case?
When they are in their 20s, they are used to dating a certain type of man. Yeah. And the challenge is that as they, become like late 20s, 30s, 40s, the mindset is they're still looking out for a certain type of man. Which is totally understandable if you think about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you're thinking, okay, in my 20s, like I'm dating men that's like of a certain outlook, a certain, a certain profession, or just a certain style. And one of the things that I observe is that usually the one who end up getting married like 8 to 10 years later, compared to the one who are still single, they have kind of... what is a good way to say this? It's like they kind of have started to be able to date out of a certain mold. So the challenge is that a lot of the women, they are still holding out for that man that looks a certain way, that, like maybe comb his hair a certain way, like he's, still having his like six-pack and things like that. And obviously those guys do exist. Yeah, they do. But the challenge is that they are also probably like the same guy that everybody's kind of looking out for. So I always say that it's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's not that you're not good. It's just that he just has so many choices.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's the reason like why he might just end up choosing someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the friends that I've seen like got married like maybe 8 to 10 years after me, it's like the type of guy that they end up marrying. It's like sometimes it doesn't sound so good, but it's a bit like those kind of times when you go for some wedding and you kind of like that's interesting choice. It's a bit like that. But when we say that again, it's very superficial. Right. It's because it's like maybe we are thinking like, this girl, she used to be dating this type of guys, like how come like now she's dating someone who is like that? But there's nothing wrong with this guy. It's just that maybe he's boring a bit. Quite a lot of men in that age group, like maybe, like they would start, having a bit of a,
or receding
hairline. But it's just getting over that, being able to...
Getting over being vain.
Yes. It's true.
You're basically saying that as we grow into our 30s and beyond, 40s and beyond, we also become different. Yeah. We're not the same women that we used to be in our teens and 20s, and yet we still hold on to the same ideals, which actually prevent a lot of women from, really finding their significant other. Yeah.
While it might seem as if those who are locked out in their 20s have it all, it's not entirely the case, as many relationships do break down. If you look at the soaring divorce rates around the world, with nearly 50% of marriages ending in divorce or separation in the United States, the rate is lower in countries like Singapore, with 1 in 3 couples going their separate ways. Many reasons are behind the breakups: irreconcilable differences, personality clashes, or simply that couples grow apart over the years. Although Violet counts those who tied the knot as her success stories, she's realistic about the challenges of keeping a marriage together. Having been with her husband, with whom she's been running Lunch Actually for the past 14 years, she notes that making a relationship work is about learning to live with the ups and downs. That said, when one is on the prowl, She says it's important to keep an open mind and know what you want in life.
There are a lot of ups and downs. Honestly, it's like there are times where it's really difficult, and I always say to people, like, there are times when the other person is not going to be lovable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the challenge sometimes now it's also because it's so easy, like compared to like maybe, like our parents or even like our grandparents' time where people kind of hold on to like a marriage and try to make it work. Yeah. Even though things are not good, or like maybe even there are cases where there are affairs. But I think right now, like you mentioned, there's a huge kind of people seeking like a second chance at love, even for us. When we first started, people are not so open to dating divorcees, but now they are quite open because they know that there are more and more divorces out there. So it's interesting that sometimes we have women who come to us, and like, let's say if you're looking for men who is maybe 35 and above or even 40 and above, and they'll be like, I prefer someone who's a divorcee rather than someone who's been never married before. And I think the reason for that is, I think men who like come to a certain age and they still have not committed.
That means that they just simply can't commit.
Yeah, that is one of the possibilities. I mean, we cannot kind of say it's 100%, but it's actually quite high that they are not able to commit for whatever reason. So as a result, like you might be better off dating someone who might have baggage, so-called, have a previous marriage, and now divorced. They are more likely to commit than someone who's never been married before. And I agree, actually for men, usually if they have been married before and then now they are divorced, the chances of them wanting to get back into another relationship is quite high.
I think there's a bit of a soul-searching process for everyone involved, whether it's a man or a woman.
Yeah.
Once you realize that it didn't work anymore, you start thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? Nowadays, you have so many single women, eligible women, professional women, well-to-do women. It seems like they tick all the boxes except for that one category.
Yes.
They are single, and they are looking, and somehow their chances just dwindle, and they just age.
Yeah.
What should these women do?
I think to do some soul searching, right? To really know what do they want, right? So sometimes we do have women who come to us to say that, they are looking, but then deep down, maybe they have something that's pulling them back. So I think you did mention this earlier in our conversation, that a lot of women, they kind of have this mindset that all the good men are like either taken or gay, or like I put in another one date. So if they hold on to this mindset, it's very challenging because that means they have already put their blinders on. Yeah. So that means it's like whatever guy I match them with, they are not going to think that this is a good guy.
Yeah, they'll find some fault.
Yes. They will think that there's something wrong with this guy because these guys do not exist. So I remember, meeting this client, which is, exactly what we have talked about. She is very well educated. She is doing very well in her career, and she ticks all the boxes. So I met up with her because, she was not so happy. She wanted to talk to me. And then, and at the end of it, she just said, Violet, tell you what, you just match me up with the top 5% of like your database. Yeah. And then she said that I'll be happy. So then, I just wanted to understand from her, so why she thinks I should only be matching her up with like the top 5% of the database. And that's when like it came out, right? So she says that, okay, I am this, I'm that, and I'm doing really well. But the interesting thing is that she is evaluating herself based on how she would evaluate a guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But men look at things differently.
Exactly. So she wants a guy who is, come from like Ivy League University, which she is. She wants a guy who's like, used to work for like a bank, IB, or like big consulting firm, which she did. She wants a guy who is like generous, who's like, like doing like charity work, which she's doing. So, and she's like, from her point of view, she ticks all the boxes. But from the guy's point of view, it's like all these are great, like these are bonuses, right? So from the guy point of view, honestly, like let's say a guy who's in his mid-30s or even early 40s who's successful, maybe he's looking to settle down, start a family. So he might be looking for someone who's like maybe have the best chances of starting a family, maybe. Yeah, so that would mean maybe someone who is maybe of a younger age group, someone who is I don't know, good looking, slim, you know, all the like superficial things, but at the same time, like that's kind of how they are programmed to, like, you know, be looking. And then maybe they are looking for someone because at that point he's doing well, you know, money is not a problem, he doesn't need a second breadwinner. So the challenge is that they are not looking for a beta.
Yeah.
They are looking for another alpha.
Two alphas do not go well together.
But actually to them, they are saying that when they find the right alpha, they are willing to be the beta. But the challenge is that the alpha needs to see you as a beta, right? So that is the challenge.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, you know, they'll go on dates and then they will just have this whole like super, like, I don't know, like strong women aura. And then I'll be like, you know, if you go in like that, then obviously the guy is not thinking that you're a beta, right?
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, I'm looking for the right alpha so that I can show my beta-ness.
Yeah, so it's very complicated. So what do you do when you put your clients through training?
They need to be, how would I put it? They need to be coachable. Like, meaning, you know, like they understand that, okay, yes, you know, like this is something that I need to kind of look at. Because if some of them, they are like, this is who I am, you know, and they need to like me for who I am, then it is quite difficult. So we'll go through different things. Like, for example, some of them will actually work with them on like, what does it mean to like be more feminine? Because this is also something that sometimes it's I find missing in like our very successful, you know, like women, and because they're just so used to like this particular persona that has worked so well for them at work. Like when they go on dates, it's like it's a disaster. I always tell them, I say it's a date, not a debate. I mean, you go on a date, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to have like a light conversation and not just, I don't know, like debating about every single thing. So we actually go through exercise with them, right? To share with them like, okay, you know, this is what we mean by, you know, how do you present your feminine self rather than, you know, like just coming across with a lot of masculine sort of energy. And sometimes it's just small little tweaks that they are not aware of because they are just so used to presenting themselves in a certain way. And the mindset as well, I think that's very important. So again, it's like the baggages that they have. And I think the willingness to be vulnerable, I think again that is missing because maybe they have had like very bad experiences in the past. But if they kind of like build this like, I don't know, like 5-inch wall, 10-inch wall.
The Great Wall.
Yeah, the Great Wall, right?
But in this kind of world where you do have a lot of these apps,
Yes.
the world can get very promiscuous, right? Especially in the dating scene.
Yes.
And sometimes is it easy for both men and women to get lost in that? Because it's so easy to hook up.
If at that point in your life you're looking to hook up, then obviously that there are ways to do it. But if you know that that's not what you're looking for, then you need to create some boundaries. So I would say that the good thing about app is that it's like a volume game, and like there are so many people on it, and it's like 24/7, right? Like, you know, you have insomnia or something, you can just wake up and, you know, kind of swipe and look for suitable matches. So I guess in that sense, you know, it's like there are a lot of pros to like apps. To be talking to 10 different guys.
Exactly.
And the guy can be talking to another 10 different women, right? But I always say that when you're meeting in person, you can only meet one person at a time.
Right.
So, you know, if this guy is like spending like, you know, all his weekends with you, or like, you know, like you even meet for weekdays, then obviously he's probably only dating you. But if you do not ever meet up, like you don't know. Yeah. So I think it does help that there's just so many people online, but I think it's just to be careful and to just put up boundaries.
Over the past 15 years that you've been doing this, what are some of the most memorable cases that really worked well?
The first couple who got engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So why they are the first couple who got engaged and not the first couple who got married? Because once they got engaged, someone else beat them to it. The lady, she's a lawyer. And I mean, she's very, very nice, very bubbly personality. So we decided to match her up with this other guy. And his profession is entertainer. And actually what he does is he does like unicycling and juggling and things like that.
Kind of like in circus.
She was quite concerned. She's like, you know, I'm a lawyer and you're matching me up with an entertainer. Like how does that work, right? So why we have decided to match both of them up is because we feel that they have a similar sense of humor. We feel that in terms of like values, they are very compatible. And actually, this guy, he's very smart. You know, like he went to school like in like I can't remember, Cambridge or Oxford, but it's just his passion. You know, like even though you know he did really well academically, but this is his passion. So it was quite difficult because she insisted that she didn't want to go on a date, but we just felt that it was such a good match. So the entire office spoke to her. It's like, you know, like all the matchmakers, you know, like I think even myself, like we got on the phone and then we convinced her. And then finally she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So then they met, and it's like, in their case, it's like, it's really kind of like love at first sight kind of thing. Yeah. They kind of like, they told us, they say, we got on like house on fire. And we're like, whoa, okay. So very quickly, they got engaged in like about 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And then they got married. Very sweet. They chose the date of their first date. Very sweet, you know, like invited us for their wedding, and then they had kids, and then now, because then after that we have stayed in touch through Facebook. So I kind of see like, you know, their family expanding.
Some women, regardless of the baggage that they have, you know, they could have had a kid there, they could have had a kid there, you know, it's a bit complicated. They somehow manage to always get someone and tie the knot. They certainly do not tick all the boxes. They're not necessarily, you know, stunning aesthetically. They may not be fully educated. They may not even speak well. And yet, this is a complete contrast. What's your take?
I think that's a very good question, and it's also something that I've observed as well. I think, you know, like in any relationship, it's always like there's something that each party is looking for, you know? So it's like maybe the guys are looking for certain things and the girls are looking for certain things. And I think in this case, like these women, like they have qualities or they have characteristics that appeal to the men. So, you know, it's not so much about their baggage or even like maybe how they look. Research has shown that men are looking for women who's nurturing. Yeah, so they're looking for women who's nurturing, who is like gentle, who's like, maybe, you know, like sometimes you just think like, oh, this is stereotype, you know, it's like, that's why we kind of think it's stereotype that we say, oh, men like teachers or nurses or things like that. But so it's not so much about the profession, but I think it's really that characteristics. And I think, you know, like these women, like no matter how they look or like, you know, the baggage that they have, they just bring across this characteristics or personality that the men are looking for. So, and I think that men, like a lot of times, they are looking for someone that they can provide for. Yeah. So, you know, like I think sometimes men have said to some women, you know, it's like, you're doing so well, like everything is so good, like you actually don't need me. So I think it's like, that's why that's so ironic, right? Like, so on one hand, like even though we are doing well in our career and things like that, we do want to find a man, we do want someone to provide for us, but the problem is maybe the signals that we are kind of sending. Yeah, and I think these women, like, you know, they have that balance. They don't come across as like completely needy or like trying to leech off the man or something. but I think, you know, like they have this respect for the man. They, you know, they look up to them. They, you know, like, and the men feel that, you know, when I'm with this woman, I feel like a man. Yeah, so that's the challenge sometimes, because it's like for women, like for us, love is very important, right? But for men, actually, you know, respect is what love is to a woman. Yeah, but sometimes I think women, we forget that. So like that's why a lot of relationships have problems, because sometimes like the man might kind of fall off his pedestal, you know, like maybe he lost his job or like, you know, things are just not going so well, and the woman kind of like, oh, you know, it's like why are you expecting all of these things of me, you know? Like, for example, like I have very successful women saying to me like, I don't understand why, you know, like I have to do the household chores, you know, like I'm earning way more than him, and you know, like we should split it, or maybe even he should be doing it, things like that. Which you think about it, there's no relevance, you know, like who is earning the money and who is doing the household chores, and that's the kind of thing that kind of have those imbalances.
And then eventually there are cracks in the relationship.
Yes. So I think, like as again, like not politically correct as it sounds, because again, like now women, like they bring in the money, they are doing really well. But I guess sometimes there's still that kind of expectation, like, men are looking out for someone that, they can come home to, they feel like, it's like this, my refuge, and I can kind of chill out, like they don't want to like maybe come home into like this like whole power struggle of like
because you get that at work.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the biggest, the most insightful secret, that big thing that you learned after doing this for 15 years? The top 3 secrets that only you know that can really bring people together.
Firstly, it's really the focus on values. Yeah, I think that has really worked out very well. Yeah, so for example, like I remember meeting this client, like what can you not live without in your life? And this is actually a very good question you can try asking people, because people really come up with very different answers. And in the case of this guy, his answer, one of it is sunrise. Yeah. So it was like, wow, okay. And he has told us in the past that, like I want a girl who's very simple, I don't need girls who like put on a lot of makeup. And actually a lot of guys say that. And because I think they say that because maybe they just want to know how the girl really look like.
Okay.
Yeah, but in this case, I realized that he really means it. Yeah, and because of that conversation with him, like just understanding like what matters to him and what his values are, like I thought of this girl who would be a great match. And yeah, and they got married. Yeah, so I think sometimes it's like just looking beyond like all the other things that they say and just zooming in on like what really matters to them. So I think that's one. The other one is that we believe very much in tough love. We didn't in the earlier days, sometimes by sugarcoating things or just kind of like letting down the person in a nice manner. It's like which is like what most of us do because it's just easier, I guess, in that way. But we realize that we are not helping our clients.
Right.
Yeah. So now it's like we would of course ask for their permission first to say, are you open to some feedback? Like, are you open to receive some coaching? And usually they are, because they want to find success. And I think with that, by really sharing with them like what has happened, like what are some of the feedback that we have gotten about them, that has really helped them improve, to just maybe know some of their blind spots. And that's why, like coaching, like I say, really has, brought our success rate to the next level.
Okay, so dose of reality. What do you think of us getting into a partnership to do, to launch something called Project Cupid? Do you want to try that? But the conditions are, one, maybe one or two. I mean, I think it has to be multiple women, like 20s, 30s, 40s, and maybe even up to 50s. People who are coming back into the market for whatever reason. They could be widowed, they could be divorced. Do you think you'd be up for that challenge?
Yeah, I think this is going to be really fun.
Yes, let's make it happen. Do look out for a joint Project Cupid as we join forces to bring lonely hearts together and find out whether they can let go of what is holding them back. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time. Would be most grateful if you could subscribe and give us a quick review. Do make Maverick Dreamers and Thinkers a part of your weekly routine. And if you'd like to find out more about our podcast, go to www.brilliantmp.com for details. Until next time, to all the great dreamers out there, I'm Chloe Cho. Take care.